Tiguyamba Bano. Some of us will be following using their slides in the booklet. I hope we have those slides there. But you may see some of the things are not in the slides, in the booklet. So let's just be following. The exercises that we are going to do are not in the booklet. So I need to introduce, we have got ropes here, and that is going to be used in our psychomotor model. When we are doing psychomotor learning domain, we are going to use these ones. And I also have these. We are also going to use these ones in the psychomotor learning domain. And I will have people that I've got my instructors here who are going to demonstrate, and some of us are going to participate. So that's part of the learning process. I'm not sure if we have brought some, if I've got these manuals with us here, because I needed some volunteers also that we're going to use these ones for us to do the cognitive learning domain as well as the affective learning domain. We want to see how these have been applied. Yeah, because that's continuous assessment. How our own curriculum adheres to learning process. Yeah, because those of us who are doing, let's say maybe you want to add you want to add an honor. What should be covered, isn't it? Yeah. Otherwise, maybe you just end up define, explain. Yeah. So we're just introducing some of the things, the tools that we want to use. I've got this important tool. Now, in education, from the people in education, I'm seeing them here. So I'm learning from them. Our learning span, or our concentration span, is about 20 minutes. So I'm aware of that, so I have to make sure that I use some of the tools. So this is the tool I'm going to use as part of the process. So what I'm going to do, after some time, I'll blow a whistle, and I expect you to stand, stretch your hands, and sit down. Is that difficult? So we start. We can see it. So I see we have passed the first part. So that's what we're going to do, as easy as that. But you know, in each of these things, we will have to see why we're doing it, isn't it? Yeah. So basically, as when you are using somebody's tool, you don't know whether it's pressing the right. This part of learning. So he's demonstrating and I'm initiating. Yeah? Yeah, from our continuous assessment. So let's look at continuous assessment. I think we don't need much of the curtains. They're still coming? Yeah. Well done. We changed tools today. Yeah. Next. Okay, now we are there. You know, and I tell you, MV was very nice. These things have brought complication. You know, it was just make a chair. And someone demonstrates and makes a chair, isn't it? But now we have to do these things and like, anyway, we have to learn them because as the leaders we are presenting said you have to be resourceful. Exactly. Okay, so continuous assessment. Now we have got two ways there, continuous and assessment. If you recall, I think the first presentation we had where I was participating in Michiru sometime back. The second one, 2017, on 26th March at the National Bank. The third one at the Master Guide training at Ncharo. So I think I'm doing the fourth one. So if you listen to those ones, just forget because all those things have changed. I think it has been many years. So continuous, then assessment. Now, leaders were presenting here, they said this is skill and competence based. When our leader was presenting here, he emphasized, and I think the two of them, they emphasized competence. And the SYL leader was saying, you know, those days before this came, you know what we used to do? Yeah, you wait last day because that's what they want. You read the whole night, then you pass exams. So then they call you, you are now a master guide. Can you make us a camp chair using the notes that you learned? Now, in that exam, summative exam, there wasn't anything like that. So we want now to look at the continuous assessment. So let's define. First, we have to define assessment. There are several definitions. I'm handicapped with seeing far, and I can't even see here. So, serious handicap. You should know that some of us did these things long time ago. So now we are having challenges. Yeah, I know you cannot see somebody. If you can see, then you are still young. Yeah. Assessment, if we define assessment, is the process of gathering or discussing and information. And why do we do this? We want the student to know. We want the student to understand. Have you seen this in the manuals? Yeah? And we want the students to do. Yeah? And why are we all doing this? Is because we want them to gain knowledge. It's part of the learning process. That's assessment. So when you talk about assessment, it's part of that process. And we say it's a systematic, so it's not haphazard, systematic. So we'll go through those things. It's also a process of defining, selecting, designing, collecting, analyzing, and then you interpret the information. What is this used for? Is for the learner's development. You want to develop knowledge. Purpose, I've already said, that is for development of learning. You know, process is a learning process. That's why when you talk about assessment, you want people to learn something. Now, since we are talking about learning, then you are talking about an institution where learning takes place. So, learning can be both formal and informal. You know, the community has a way how they teach manners to people, isn't it? Teach values. That's a learning process. That's an informal school. But you have got also a formal school where they do standard 1, standard 2. I would also say that probably the Pathfinder curriculum has now been formalized because you have got friend, you know, companion, explorer, you know, ranger, voyager, and the guide. Or you start with the adventure. So that's also the learning one. Learning process, the formal. Yeah? Now, we need to define what education, because we need to look at the context. Yeah? Because when you talk about education, out of the context, then it may not augur well with the educationist in here. So our philosophy that we are approaching is the Adventist education. Yeah? So the Adventist education here, we are saying that the purpose of education is to make a student or a person useful where? Here in this world. Not being heavenly minded but no good for earth. Did you hear that? Yeah, if you are more heavenly minded, then no earthly good, you haven't gotten the education needed. So you have to be useful where you are. So therefore, according to Sister White here, he said the harmonious development, yeah, of both the physical, the mental, the spiritual. You see, you blend them together, that's making a total person. So when you are looking at the curriculum, I'm happy that this qualifies, because there's a spiritual development in here, yeah? There's outdoor things here, yeah? As we are going to do some of the things around here. You can see that it actually takes care of that. Now, if we look at the education philosophy of Adventists, the purpose is to acquire knowledge. So those of you who have done philosophy, the purpose is to acquire knowledge. Knowledge has to be to deal with reality. Yeah? So if you're talking about reality, we're talking about truth. Someone talked about truth here. Now, if you're talking about truth, now, those of you in the academic circles, you hear that, okay, no, truth is relative. No. As in Adventists, we say truth is what? Absolute. Why? Because there is only one truth. Who is that truth? Jesus. He says, I am the way, the truth. Yes. So Jesus is truth. We can't have two Jesuses. Are we together? So in our philosophy of education or learning process, who is our focus? It's Jesus. That's what we want to know, isn't it? Is to know him as our creator and our savior. Yeah? So when we talk about the Adventist philosophy of education, then you should know that truth is absolute. We can argue about it. There are those who are coming from interpretivism or constructivism who say, no, truth is in the eyes of the beholder. But the Bible has got one truth. Yeah? So, but the Bible also says, truth, someone may not have acquired it yet. And that's why you and I has to go and correct that individual into the church. It says, other sheep do I have that are not in the fold. Isn't it? So they need truth, isn't it? They haven't yet discovered truth. Yeah? So here's the aim, the Advent message to all the world in my generation. Now let's go back to assessment. We said assessment involves a series of steps in learning process. It's also a process of acquiring knowledge. It's conducted systematically, and it is student-centered. It is outcome-based. So you hear the learning outcomes, isn't it? Yeah. So what is the assessment process? We need to break these small things before we come to the meat. It is a series of steps that constitute a method of assessing students. So series of steps. There will be series of steps for us to assess a student. Yeah? So we'll go into those series of steps. Those of you who attended the 26th March in 2017, this slide is borrowed from there, but the rest are not. Now that's the learning process. So if you've got, maybe you can see them from our booklets there. You just open our booklets. If you cannot see from the board there. If you can see, well and good. Some of us who cannot see, we have to check from here. Yeah, so in the learning, in the assessment process, first you develop a student program and learning outcomes. And I think when our leader here was presenting in the issue of the portfolios, you heard him talking about this. Yeah, develop the learning outcomes. And our leader here talked about programming, because at the beginning is programming, isn't it? And these are the things that you develop. When you're talking about the scheme of work, the lesson plan, these are the things. What you are interested in is not just writing things. Zimene zimafunika nthawi imeneyo ndikuti kodi mwana aphunzire chiyani, pathfinder aphunzire chiyani ndikamaliza lesson iyi, isn't it? Amen. And then after you have done that, looked at the learning outcome, you identify methods and measures. How are we going to teach the student, and how are we going to measure that they have what? Attained. Then you look at how are we going to say we have succeeded. What we planned, we have succeeded, isn't it? Now there's also a process of collecting the information. Now that's what they talked about here. Without evidence, how do you check that you have been doing something? No, I've been teaching the whole term. Now we'll come to the section of when my colleagues will talk about the verification, but I will just pass by. Yeah, I will just pass by. Because sometimes the verifiers can come to your place and take 20 minutes and they are gone. But because in Zachi Krisitu, akapeza kuti za 20 minutes zosizipezeka, we burden them, they will take 5 hours. We'll talk about that. So you collect and gather the data or analyze data in the learning process. Then you plan and execute improvement. If you see that there were problems, then you do some improvement. Then you discuss to say, oh, how I will document. Say, okay, this is what happened. So let's look at these. I'm checking the other side, and I think I'm moving faster. I've got two screens. Okay. Yeah, so the first step, is clearly define learning outcome. What are we trying to do here? In your learning outcome, you want to know what the students be able to do, abilities. Those ones are coming from what we call the psychomotor learning domain. What the students will be able to do with the hands and whatsoever. Then the students will be able to know cognitive. Yeah? Then we talk about the values or the attitude. Is this person, we say, when we say the student talks about obedient, is the student after the process, is the student obedient? Are the parents able to testify at home that the student is now obedient? Or kapena mina na bwerera apeza khalidwe lina lake kupathfinder? Do you get that? Yes. Then there's no learning. If the student is worse off, they have learned something, zabunyumba, and learned some other, things that you don't want them to learn. So we said that these are student-centered. They focus on priorities. There are many things that we can learn, but you only focus on priorities. For example, we say an example here. Students should know and understand AY Legion of Honor. Where is it coming from? Guide, eh? So have you seen those words? Know and understand. Yeah? Then example of the performance outcome. You say a student received help and support. Now you are looking at the performance. Yeah? You say what we planned and what is that come out. So you say the student received help and support and is able now through the process that they are able to demonstrate what is in the Legion of Honor. Are we together? Let's look at how much time do I have? I was preparing this for 1.5 hours, and I'm told that I've got 1 hour. Okay. So we'll do quickly because some of these are already in your bulletin. So let's look at the appropriate measures and the learning outcomes. Now, when you are talking about this, it's the way of assessing. Yeah. What is the right measure? The right measure should be valid. Yeah. And the results should be consistent. If you are saying this is the result, tomorrow say no, I think ati mwana gona utapunzisa baraliga. Munatuza chakuti tu pachadzulu. But now you are explaining this differently. You have to be consistent. If you say this is the past, now let me emphasize just a disclaimer. In the continuous assessment, we talk about achieved or not yet achieved. We don't talk about pass and fail. Hello? Hello? We don't talk about pass or fail. We will demonstrate it when we come here, when we do this. Because the thing is, for example, I mean, Magoro, I know you learned how to ride a bicycle. I don't know how to ride a bicycle. Yeah, but we did have a bicycle in our home. So don't get surprised. I don't know how to do it. And I think I would die without knowing how to do it. But give me a bicycle and give me some time. I will learn it. Someone will demonstrate and I will do it slowly. Because at my age now I'm afraid of breaking my bones. So I will do it slowly to get there. Isn't it? Some of you are drivers here. You are driving, you have driven your own vehicles. The way you learned that, you remember those processes? Yeah? The instructor was really hard on some of us. Because our feet were so rigid. But we made it anyway, isn't it? It's a skill. Even cooking. Kupika nsima yosapia. But later on, I mean, we were able to do it. And you can say he has failed to cook. No, he's still learning to cook. So in the assessment process, the person is still yet to get there. Are we together? Hey. And now, you should be talking about how do we try to assess this person. You assess the different methods. Either a group study. Don't say because I've done group study, the student has got it. Go the other way around. Write an essay. Ask that same student to write an essay. Then you say, okay, let's have a quiz. Okay, can you recite? You are trying to find a way to make sure that they have completely known the subject. Are we together? Now let's look at how do we measure success. For example, performance outcome. Youth demonstrate skills in rope work or learn how to use lashing to make an outdoor project. Measure exhibition or finished product, so you have a chair there, yeah? Or demonstrate skills on rope work, you have it there demonstrated, yeah? Then how to measure success, 75% or 80% have done it, yeah? So we can measure success that way. And we talked about collecting and analyzing the data. So you look at how have we done? How can we improve the practice? Now I'm talking about sampling. Now, and I need to do maybe some, some of these things are coming from those who do statistics and they make things very difficult for us. But when you and I want to do it at our church, do we need to get those complications? Now there's a rule here which says 20 to 30%, at least 20%, is our sample representative. So we'll do a bit of that exercise here, just shortly. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you count there the numbers? 1, 2, 3, 4 up to the last one there. from there. You count 1, 2, 3, 4, then until we get to the last. I want to know how many people are in there.
1, 2,
3,
4, 5, 6,
8,
9, 10,
11,
12, 13,
14.
How many people do we have? 19. Okay, 19. So if we're using the 20-30% rule, let's say 30% of these. How many? I think that one we can do it. 20% of, or 30%, at least someone will be there to do it at the club. 20% of 19 people in the band. Or 30% of 19 people. That's about 6. Yes, let's say 6, because the other one is a half of a person. Now, so if we are to do scientifically random sampling like Dr. Mhango to do, we will not do those things. We will do the ones we do we do at the church. Yeah. So what we will do is we'll say, okay, we need 6. We have 6 people, isn't it? So we'll count 1, 2, 3. The third one we pick, regardless of who they are, isn't it? So we say, okay, 1, 2, 3. Then my brother there, that means you have been picked. Just mark yourself. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Those ones I'm saying 3, you should just raise up the hand. Your hand should be kept up. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. You should just stand up. There's something that want to just stand up in that order. How many men and how many women are in the group? Yeah. How many? Okay, just sit down. At least we know it's 3-3. Sit down. We haven't finished yet. In this group, how many ladies are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Is it 8? How many ladies? 9. Hey, how did you do it? Normally it doesn't come out like that. Because in this case, there's a representation. So what we wanted to find out, it would have happened that probably there were less men or less ladies, in a number of ladies than men. Then in that case, we are going to group only ladies on their own and the men on their own. Then we would now start the sampling in that group. Yeah? The idea is to make sure that each group is represented in our sampling. Because it's possible the way you were seated, that we would have just probably counted ladies or, yeah. Now, what happens after you have done that, meaning that you have taken 6 files. As a verifier, you have taken 6 files that we want to check evidence. It starts at the church. I'm at the church. Yeah? Not you, external verifier. You do your own things at the church. 6 files. You pick your 6 files, then now you check. And if you see there is a mess in those 6 files, then you say, I need a bigger sample. There is a mess in these things. The accountants will tell me that, when they are auditing, it's not true and it's not true and fair representation of what we see. There's no evidence, isn't it? So the educationists, they have got also quality control. The accountants, they have got auditing. You can't come there and, okay, let me ask this. Does the auditors, yeah, you auditors, I can see you here. When you go to do your work, at a company, are you writing the accounting statement, financial statements for the company? No. What are you doing? Checking evidence. So if you are verifying, are you writing? No. You are verifying to say the things that you have said. Oh, I got these students who have passed this course. Okay. Okay. Give me the students. Then you do your sample. Simple like that, isn't it? We can do this, isn't it? Yeah. Then after that, you check. Now, after you have checked and you see the files are okay, you agree with what they have given you. If you see that there is a problem, maybe with one file, you say 1 file out of 6 files I've checked. How many percentage is that? If there's a problem with half the files, then you know in this group of 19 people, half we have not passed. Yeah, because what you have picked shows you that what? Hey. Okay. Okay, that was the exercise, so let's pass there. We would have done it. I'm told I don't have much time, so I don't want to dwell on the things that don't work. Okay. We'll move a bit quickly now. Now we're talking about also areas of improvement. After you've done this at the club level, you want to check, okay, where can we, change, At the conference level, you can look at the curriculum, maybe modify. I mean, you can't teach us here about snow. We haven't even seen it. This place is very hot, so it will melt. So teach us things that they taught us here. Don't talk about things that are irrelevant. These kids need to learn about mechanics, computer, isn't it? You are your owners, yeah? Things that are relevant. And you see they will like, say, okay, we are now learning how to dismantle a computer and place it back, or a car. You will see what they will do. But when you're in the village there, they don't even know that computer. But there is a motorbike that passes in the village. Change that to a motorbike. Or there is a bicycle. Why can't you change into a bicycle? Assembly of a bicycle. Things that are relevant. So look at the curriculum. What can we change? Is it the method of teaching? Is it the support to the teachers? Yeah? We heard about staff development here, isn't it? Yeah? Or student support. Or is it the place that we're doing? We sit in a building like this, like I've seen now, a number of them are praying for me here. Yeah. Because I can see they are doing this, good prayers are taking place. Don't forget to reassess the improvements also. Now, the important thing is a good assessment process is evidence-based. Document, 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 document. If that is not found, there is no evidence. In effect, if it was not a church, we would say a verifier will run charichiri chakachino sirina bange abanga chakachamawa. They are continuing. Yeah, because we say they have not failed. They have not failed. Yeah, they have not achieved. Yeah, we don't talk about failure. They have not yet achieved. Ndiye bwererani gaye. Akachita achieve mubwera. How do they? They will check first the teacher. The teacher's file, yeah. Then they want the teacher's file. You also going to get out the parliament cheating up, and then I got it in the metro. I mean, so that's where it starts from. So document and document. Now, after having done that, now let's look at briefly now type of assessments. So we've got two types of assessment. There are many types of assessment, but they fall into two categories. There is formative and there is summative. We are doing summative, final exams. You know, you write your Cambridge at the end. This time the government also experimented, set JC out. So we are doing all the way from Form 1 to Form 4, and there was tremendous failure. And they said, okay, no, let's go back and let's pick the pieces. So we moved from there to come to part of the formative. Formative has a component which we call continuous assessment. So we went into continuous assessment. Continuous assessment is not synonymous to formative, but it has got a part of the formative. Because in continuous assessment, you also have summative. Hello? Yeah, we also do, you know, church heritage certificate exams. That's summative. Yeah? You may have been doing some exercises, but you also do summative. So there's both summative and what? So it's there's summative as well as, you know, the continuous part of it. So let's go to continuous assessment. After all this talking, and the people are now tired to hear. Continuous assessment. Basically what we're talking about. Continuous. Meaning that it's taking place regularly in the course of learning up to the end. You are not just assessing a person at the end. Yeah? Day one, they start, you are assessing. If you say today we are doing honors, you are assessing, isn't it? Yeah? So that's continuous. Now, continuous assessment, the learning, if you look at it, it's systematic and objective. It takes place in various domains. That's where I want us to get to. It is regular, yeah. So you continuously do that. Then you have performance accumulates, yeah. So you start now. Then from there, then say, okay, we have done this. We have done this. Then you now. Why we're saying it's cumulative? Because when you have a proper system, if you have done part of it in at Kandeza, if the student or the parents transfer to Ziwe, we will show the portfolio, the Napanga is. Then I can continue. It's medicine Napange. I would get. Yeah. So the assessment, it has got an instrument. So you have an instrument that you use. The instrument maybe can be oral or written questions. That's an instrument. Yeah. Or a project that we're doing, case study, an instrument. Yeah. And this, it's like the tasks that you are given to the students. Can you do this? Can you do that? Yeah. Rush a bit. We have also, in that definition, there's an assessment tool. This comprises of, like administration, recording, reporting, requirement. So this is your assessment tool when you are assessing. That's part of the assessment tool. Now, learning takes place, we said it takes place, or assessment takes place in the cognitive learning domain. So, the knowledge and the understanding takes us to cognitive. Now, basically, these are in the, I'm not committing any crime there in here. So I'm just using the words that are here. And you see, when you start with the lowest level, those of you educationists, Bloom's taxonomy, So you can see that we are here. They applied Bloom's taxonomy. So basically you're talking about knowledge at the lowest level, where we say define, name, outline, identify. If your questions are like that, you are just at the lowest level. Then comprehension, then you're talking about it to demonstrate some degree of understanding. So it's extend, estimate, yeah, predict, explain. Are we together? When we have those ones, then you know that you are now at the second level. Then application. Then you are talking about things like organize, prepare, use, demonstrate. They are now applying what they have learned. Then analysis, you are talking about now deduce, differentiate, illustrate, analyze, isn't it? Then you grow up. Synthesis, you are talking about categorize, compile, compose, yeah, create an object, yeah. Then evaluation, yeah, where now you talk about appraise, defend, compare, justify. So now, what we are supposed to do, I've got little time. It's in the what we are supposed to do. I wanted to have us to have, if we had a number of these, I was going to give them in the groups. You were going to go, because here I just carried 2. You were going to check whether these ones, like a friend here, they comply with what you see here. Yeah? Let me quickly go to the second domain, that is now attitude. Now there is a certain professor at College of Medicine, Futsobengo. He came up with what he called CAS model. When I was checking, I think they said there's nothing new in the world. Basically, it's talking about knowledge, attitude, and skills. Yeah? And that's what we use here. Knowledge, you have seen it at the lower level. Then skills, yeah? So now, the same things, we want to put them in skills. So we get receiving, responding, because it's now the values that, if you have taught a child, if we say, for example, Pathfinder law, be obedient. Then just after saying be obedient, you see how the kid operates. Then they have not put that into practice. It's not in effective learning. Now we should make sure that our kids, that this is not just head knowledge, then it is cognitive. It has to be also heart knowledge. Are we together? Yeah? When we move from heart knowledge, now we'll come to what we call the third part. We'll come to hand knowledge. That's how it's a harmonious development of the physical, mental, and spiritual. So it has to be head knowledge that's cognitive. Heart knowledge that is what? Affective, the values. Yeah? Then hand knowledge is what? Skills. How together? So there is initiation. The learner observes, and then something is initiated. Then there's manipulation of that, yeah. Then precision. Then articulation, where the learner is supposed to do without really thinking, or with ease. Then they are now going to. It's naturalization, yeah. Stretch again, and we can see it. Now, what we have been doing in that whistle, we were doing psychomotor learning domain. you were responding to a stimulus. I told you once, I've been blowing and you have been responding. So it became automatic. That's part of learning process. Hello? Now, some of you do the note time. Can someone come and demonstrate here, bowline? The bowline note. Now we have an instructor, he is demonstrating bowline. Yeah. You demonstrate and explain. I think we're warning. Now tell us where and how do you use that? No problem.
Bowline ndinoti imene timagwiritsa ntchito tikakhala tikufuna timange chinthu chokuti noti isathine mwachidule. Bowline simayenda komano ndinoti imene timungatero kupulumutsamo munthu wina kapena chinthu china kapena kuyendetsa chinthu china kuti isathinidwe mwachidule. Chingwe chilichonse kukhala mundi pambuyo chimakhala ndi mbali ziwiri zimene chimakhala nacho. Chotero mbali imodzi iyena khala yayifupi, imene iyende ndi mbali yayitali. Ndeno tikapinda chonchi ndeni chingwe mbali imene kuyenda ndi iyi. Choyambirira mbali iyi ikuyenera ipite kumbuyo kwa lupu imene tapangayi. Ikazungulira ikabwera kuno imadzalowa pakati. Ikalowa pakati imadzatuluka mbali nayo chingwe chachitalichi nkudzalowanso pakati pa lupu chanama kupanda kwamba ija. Ngamanga yonse ndapanga bowline. Bowline ngakhale chingwe chitakhala mwachipoka chotani not isiyenda. Wana walufanya mwenye chinthu chake uchoka pa maopena pake. Chikoka bwino wala kama mfano msemo mtu atakatoa khala papa. Zitheka. Wala kama mfano bangeka katumbwe. Nana ko khala hapo kwa bela katumbwe not isi sintalo siyenda.
I will skip this because it's we'll use some of the demonstrations by the next program. Now, he was talking about the bowline. I also learned this bowline in a different way. So he says there's a different way how we can do the same thing. Now, supposing I'm in a pit. Ndiye mufuna kuti mundituluse. Mandiponyera chingwe. Yeah? Chingwe chuchoka away. Isn't it? So chabwera, then I'm able to do this. Mamba sogolera mati chingwe chachitali. So we have chingwe chachitali. Yeah? Then chachifupi. So I'm going to do the same again, what he did, but ndipanga munjira ina. Yeah? So, I want to put him on because what asogolezi mina nena kuti bora ini imafunika kuti chisasunke, isn't it? So, I'll just do this. Do this. Pull it here. If you check here, we have the same knot. Yeah. Slow motion. Now, if you ask for slow motion, deputy, now we have to do in the learning process because this is what we call psychomotor learning what domain. Yeah. So I will demonstrate, and someone has to do it slowly. Okay. Goes here. It comes here. Okay. Okay. Andiponyera. Ndipase kwa mwana. Yeah. So I'll bring this. Ajona. Then I do this. Then I bring it minimally, zanja minimum. Can someone come and try? Can someone come and try? I mean, that's the learning process. Can someone come and try? Because that's what we do when we are demonstrating this. I mean, beautiful. Serious, and coming back in your. Oh.
Like kind of for demonstrating.
Amamba.
Now it's part of the learning process because he has not achieved yet, but is there. Kuyamba napanga, de kachiwiliko, anango ponya pangono, so he's doing again. So let's do it again. Then it comes. So that I put this there. Now, you see what happens in the learning process if we are teaching our young people. We not kamapanga mansanga nsanga. And don't leave out amene akuchedwa. He needs some attention. Here you has not failed, but has not yet achieved. Yeah?
Like myself.
You didn't fail.
Now as to give him maybe to do it 5 times, he will be doing it with ease, meaning that it has become natural.
Even if I'm sleeping.
Yes. then we can easily pull him through.
Yes.
So that's how and even what Asogorere was doing, everyone else here can do it. No, all of us can do, but it takes time for some of us to learn those. It requires also an instructor who knows this assessment process. But it takes time to pick some children. It's student-based. Are we together? Yes. It's student-based. Now, thank you, Asokore. Can I have volunteers now to come and do some notes again here? Because that's my exercise. My 2 friends come here. My 2 friends for note. They are going to demonstrate some important knots, clove hitch, and lashings. On the 2, I'm not an expert in knots anyway. You ask people from my church. We import people to come to our place. But I like learning from them. So, hey. Yes, those 2 things. Yeah. Can I have 3 people on each group? Do the camp chairs and things like that. Because we can't just be doing the notes as Ogrananena. Notes. They don't have any value. But if you do lineage, then you know. Now, can you demonstrate
Okay.
Do clove hitch so that I do clove hitch in the 20, then you give them to do it.
Okay. Not to yambira imene tipange the clove hitch. Chivachani tukupunza clove hitch. Tikamapitirira ndi mbali na ma notes. Timakhala ndi ma lashings.
Okay. Tiamba kupanga ndi clove hitch. Tikamaona kumbali ya manotsi anagawidwa ma section osiyana. Ndi mbali yomalizira imene timakhala nayo ku manotsi ni ma lashings. So not imene makonda kugwiritsidwa ntchito ma lashings amenewo ndi clove hitch. So pano patipanga demonstrate kuti clove hitch mangidwa bwanji, tingaipange bwanji. Titakuipanga either manja kapena kuipanga tie ku a post kapena pole kapena straps.
This is my rope. Chingwe changa ndichi. Yes. Choyambirira ndidziwe where is my running part. Right? I need to know where is my running part, my standing part, and my standing end. Chingwe chili ndi malo atatu. Running part, standing part, and standing end. So, running part, nthawi zambiri. Imakonda kukhala kumanja kwa anthu amene tili a north pole. A north side, amene timakonda kugwiritsa ntchito right hand. Amene timakhala akumanzere a south pole, itakhala kuliwo kumanzere. So, ine ndi wa north pole. Running yanga ili kuliwo kumanja. So, this is my postet. Choyambirira. Choyambirira. Papangidwa form a bite. What I formed here, it's a byte. Right? Neno, running part yangai limene iende. So, ikupita no pamwamba. Right? Ikapita no pamwamba, ikudzalowa no up. Ndikukoka ma enziwa. When addressing our notes, timayenera kuti tigwire mmajani ma end. Chifukwa tikangoisiya verifier akamabwera sioneka chani? Sioneka bwino. Ababa munthu kungobwera verifier adziwa kuti munthu uyu akudziwa chimene akutani akuchita. This is clove hitch. Ndipangaso komaliza for us kuti tidziwe and you know
ndiye mupange kwa ma students sana.
yes guys you know it okay okay noti ndifuna ndipange clove hitch
Ma students ndamene akufuna kuti aphunzire izi. Inuyo you are just spectators level.
ndikupange et chikubwera kuno et chinthu chikenako chikuzazungulirako chikupita pamwamba chikamazazungulira chikupita pamwamba pa standing chani but then chikamadzabwera uku chikudzalowano pakati pa chaniso standing part yomweyo then ndikukoka
Can I help people now from the group?
yes
You can help two others can be doing that side.
bring my that side yes
Ndiye ma instructors ndamene muziona kuti akupanga. Amene akuchita slow, give them time because they need to repeat and repeat. And that is part of the psychomotor learning domain. Use of the hands. My instructors, make sure that your students are doing it in the right way, I'm told. They are on the process of achieving. You know it would work well for the student to be here because you were demonstrating this side. As student, mutabera chakuno. After you have done it, yeah. The other way around. My instructors, Nchito Yanu. I'm told I'm left with 5 minutes. So you are left with Mabanga. Can you do it again? Now, what you are doing is now the second part, which we call manipulation. The first time you were initiating, so Makosa, now we want to see how you are able to repeat, the same thing. Yeah? He's doing it very, very fast. Yeah, that's what we want now. Can you do it again? The last time. So you can see that the student now has gained confidence. Mukangwasia pompaja, aiwala. Now the next lesson, because I don't have time, I had 30 minutes for this. We are supposed to do a project, which is lashings. So tangopanga ka. I want these guys just to do the lashing. Tikamaji kama pose, you know, ma flag pose. Sometimes mango funa kuti basi mungo kumba pali ponse. Yeah? Ma flag pose. Tingo kumba pali ponse. You can put a flag pole here. You just do the tripod. Mugwele sama pose. Otapanga tripod. Then ina ya itali yoti ishita hang flag. And you do the same malashing. The clove ish to tie the malashing mumuita ma flapping that basi maipanga. Then you have your, you know, your flag standing for solid ground. And they are now alipo. Open this. We need to do things that translate into something, to our application of knowledge.
Okay. Mbali yomwe atiuzayo yomwe tipanga side mozi imene tikuitcha kuti shear rushing. Shear rushing imeneyi imatithandizanso kuti tifuna tipange ma towers, yet makwerero kuti mwina make anthu azikhala pamwamba. We also use shear rushing. Akambapo za triple rushing. We have diagonal rushing. We have Japanese square rushing. We have square rushing. So ifeyo tipanga mbali modzi ya rushing imeneyo. So yomwe tingaphunzire mwachangu imene ndiyo savuta, imene sotingayigwire mwachangu, tipange diagonal rushing. Diagonal rushing ndiyo savuta chifukwa chani? Tifuna tikhale ndi ma camp chairs kukamba. Sinabwere ndi mipando. We want to have ma camp chairs. How can we do them? Kupanga kwabwino timapangira ma diagonal rushing. Ne kuti tiyambe diagonal rushing timakhala ndi mapoles awiri. Nepa mapoles awiri pa ndikayamba. Not yanga yoyambirira.
Student, maybe you can even stand here, some of you to see. I think what you should be doing, you know you're a student, then I'm not so I instruct Ayana, so you put groups.
Then, I'm meant to be a Timayam, put yam diagonal rushing. Timayam and timber hitch. Timber hitch. Ujagu, clock which timabanga, natindi, ma tufuna tikaini ma shear rushing, triple rushing, kapena square rushing. Tima rushing is oceana. We want to have diagonal rushing. So I will start with a timber hitch. Eight. Tamaga? Okay.
I'll come and get
a okay. Then I form a bite. Yet? My own it. A bite.
Who puts this out? Our spectators, but
do banga form a bite. Yet? Never made a banga form a bite. Running any young guy, it's going around the standing what? Part. Then, grandma kuzungulira, bite your major. Yet? Zungulira. Mumu kufuni. Ikaona kuti tafikana pa mapeto. Chomwe ndikuyamba nalo kupangano ma raps. Ma raps yo ndikanafotokoza definition yake machifukwa cha nthawi. Kupanga ma raps. Yes? My raps, I'll put aside modes. Then, dikachani ma raps. Ndikuipangano ma fraps. Raps, fraps. The other side. Yet?
Zovuta ngati. It just takes time.
Then kumapeto kwake tapuzia noti yachi. Tapuzia noti yachi.
Timber here and cloth.
Cloth chete. Ndi timber ichi. Ndikuyeneka kuti kumapeto kwake ndizamalize cloth.
So you know where the clovis is used. Yes. Wasati kuti zingomani iye ndapanga clovis. Maiona umene magwetsa ntchito. Yeah.
Et ndi momwe ndayimira kuthekera uku.
Now, because of time, the idea was that the way we had wanted to do it with the guys was that after this, they were supposed to do
So,
the team to demonstrate.
momwe ndayipangire. Yes. Uguso ndekuti tipanga chimodzimodzi diagonal rushing. Ndekuti pabweraso poina imene labwero. Tipangaso diagonal rushing. Pamene tikuzapanga ndekuti chinthu chinga tachipangira pasi pali pa tripod. Tripod rushing. Ndekuti ndapanga mpando. I can easily what? Sit. Ndikudya lunch yanga, ndikudya brunch yanga, ndikudya breakfast yanga, nakaba chani pampando.
Thank you very much. I'm told we don't have much time, but you can see there's quite a lot to learn in hours. Ziri mumamanyo mwatu muja, and we usually don't have time, and when we don't use them, then we are denying the students things that they are supposed to learn. Briefly, I wanted just for us to appreciate, we've talked about that when we are talking about continuous, it's comprehensive, cumulative, systematic. I've already mentioned that. Then it has got also principles. For example, there is fairness. Yeah? So continuous assessment has to be fair. What do we mean? Individual learning needs have to be taken into consideration. Mwana wina makara slow. Yeah? He has not failed or she has not failed. Or even the learning environment, mwina wake alindi handicap ina yake. Take into consideration. Maybe language, handicap. You know, mpunzi mchizungu. Koma mwana you cannot comprehend English. Koma skill yako za kuipanga. Yes, we should accommodate that as an instructor. Then we have to be, that's being flexible. Yeah? Validity. Is it, do we have evidence to show it tapangani? Isn't it? Do we have evidence to show that tapang? So when the verifier comes, he will sample out and call, okay, pali square note. And in your manual, student, I mean, what is sample? Napanga square note, can you do demonstrate square note? Nangasema kuitako sample 5. Usuku kuchita chiklasi chonse, just 5. Mukamapita ma verifiers, don't burden yourself with the word. But if mukaona kuti ati za challenge, mukaona kuti teachers file yasokonekera, directors file yasokonekera mzee kuti mafuta. Then that's why now you try now to write financial statements for the church. No. There should be reliability, consistent. Consistent in my outcome. We have already talked about the players.
So I'm not going to dwell much because those ones will be taken by the my colleagues. Yeah, we don't have.
You pick the questions at the end.
Yeah, we'll pick the questions at the end. So if you've got questions, they can just put it down. Some of those slides are in there. Just take note the learning domains. It's very important that you check your manual, that they don't just mafunzo basi recite from page 1. Mukaona ya friend, it doesn't have recite from page 1 to the last page. No. Could you memorize? But memorize? No, they have also to demonstrate a certain skill. Are we together? Then they have to do it quickly. Yeah, that's part of the learning process. Thank you very much.